Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the Marvel Contest of Champions news show.
Kabam still remains silent on the criticisms of 7 Stars and Relics and the impact of the end of game situation. Deep dives are for those new October champions are out. We're going to have a quick look into them. And some Alliance Wars bugs that you should watch out for, including something that could be a little bit annoying. And calendar compensation is required. We're looking into what a Kabam going to do to get that out to players. Yes, hello everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the MCN. Now with more energy and feeling a little bit better. Thank you for the kind words in the most recent video. Hit the like button, subscribe with post notifications on all to not miss a thing. And we kick off with those lovely deep dives. So deep dives are available, link in the description down below. It's a very interesting champion. Spot is the way that kind of the champion is all about building up ruptures. There's a few elements of utility that will go in a deep dive maybe later on today. We'll do like a spotlight kind of overview. But the champion is very interesting with the damage build up, and building up those ruptures seems to be the way and the kind of the element to kind of build them up. You build your kind of like weird spotty charges on the left hand corner, which is those kind of little red symbols, and then what you'll do is then kind of look to then do them at 50, smash into the enemy with a nice SP2 or close to 50 as possible, and you'll find yourself, which you can see there, building up to 50, getting that Fury passive, smacking with a load of damage. And the job is as good as that. It seems to be a very nice champ. Also quite an interesting pre-fight that you can allow yourself to be buff immune on yourself, have a buff immune debuff, which can be quite helpful in certain situations, but you have to go for a rinse and repeat of a parry heavy all the time in order to get it on. The length of time that debuff is on you is going to be quite crucial. So if you're looking for a champion to take on the likes of Power Flood, then it may be kind of like, well, you've got to go parry heavy narrative in order to do it. So I don't know if this is going to be a great thing, but it does kind of open up an extra option, which could be quite cool. Spider-Man Supreme, on the other hand, has the elements of Symbiote Supreme, but has like this really kind of like cool copy buff type situation, the same way like Loki and a few other champions as well. You're able to copy buffs from one champion to the other, so if you're going to get a very buff heavy champion, you're able to kind of like steal back some lovely kind of like buffs for yourself. You can see which is happening on screen right now. Building up those totems is going to be quite important, especially for the extent of like what you can do with the champion, but you're able to do some amazing SP2 damage, especially if you're timing it right, and especially depending on like how you're playing and rotating the champion. The biggest concern would be if you are finding yourself against a champion which is not having any kind of buffs. Now, I don't know if this particular segment from the deep dive showcases that completely, but I think that as you see on screen right now, as soon as you build up those spider seals, they are kind of like mini buffs. The more you build up on the enemy, they are buffs, and buffs can be nullified and totems can be built, and because that can be built, it means that you can ramp up damage on champions that not necessarily wouldn't have a huge amount of buffs for them. So I think that's going to be really cool. It's definitely going to be an interesting champion to get, especially from what you have from like the astral form, those and just like the way that any kind of like spider with the mystic arts would kind of perform some of these particular powers. Still very interesting and looks pretty cool, and especially the build up reminds me of Power. It reminds me of very much kind of Sorcerer Supreme and Doctor Strange. Both champions look really cool, and it's exciting to see how they're going to function when it comes to the game. Do bear in mind, I think these champions will be out in the February 6-star featured. I think there might be an early 5-star featured, but we'll find out at a later date. Definitely look cool. Now let's move on to Relics, Ascension and 7 stars. Last week was a bit of a no-show for me because I was on vacation, I had very limited internet, and as well the video that I made on this particular subject, I literally had to make, I think, within 15 minutes before I had to get out the door before going on literally a 7-day vacation. So, there's still a lot more I need to and want to unpack with this particular subject, something that was meant to be in a podcast yesterday, but I was still recovering from a very bad kind of like stomach flu, food poisoning, which I'm just kind of like getting myself back towards like my normal kind of like effervescent energy, but let's get in there. So it's definitely something I want to explore a bit more as to like the impact. I definitely kind of like, when I was recording a video on this subject, like partway through was kind of like, okay, I see where they're going with it. But then it's like that kind of moment, it kind of like hit me of like, well, how is this all going to be achieved? It's a bit too much, a bit too soon. And there's a lot of moving parts as to like the future of the game, how all of these things impact, and especially with relics impacting on prestige, that is going to be a pretty huge thing as to like how that's going to be affecting Alliance Quest, well, maybe Alliance Wars, but mainly Alliance Quest, and as well the modes you're allowed to have relics being used in, as to like the benefits, the losses, the unfair matchups, and the competitive elements being ruined. It's definitely left a lot of sour taste in the mouth for a lot of the player base, and I haven't really kind of seen much activity from any kind of like Kabam community managers, and I don't know if there's a lot of internal discussions on this particular subject. You know, not saying they went too far, but in some cases you're like, did I go too far? As I was trying to do some research for this particular subject or this particular kind of coverage, it does strike me that it is a very mixed type thing. When it comes to like the positive elements, I think a lot of people are still willing to give it a try, but I think that's because like of years we've invested into the game, whether or not you've spent on the game or not spent on the game, time you've invested into the game as to what you get back from it. But I guess the big thing is going to be like when relics are kind of put in, and as well like 7 stars in at a later point next year, I think it is, how you try and catch up to that particular top threshold is going to be either a further divide between those that are non-spending and spending. Those are some kind of key factors, and it's definitely something I want to explore a bit more in future video topics. Next up, on to some quick Alliance Wars related bugs. There are quite a few going on, so I'm trying to like piece together some that are working, not working. I know one player kind of like said the defense tactic has been broken. This is miss tick dispersion. Defense tactic has been broken all of off season and appears to be still broken. The description is missing only the attack and health values are present. Response from Kabam Mika is, hey, the team has been notified so they can take a look into this. Whatever that means, hopefully that kind of gives you an idea that they may be working on something, maybe not. But I think there's a few other kind of little bugs here and there with Alliance Wars seasons. And as well, I think this is now being sorted now. So one thing that was broken was that Alliance Wars season rewards were not showing correctly as to, you know, the kind of correct values, because I think as of the last 48 hours, it has been something like this, where it's seen that you need, if you're a master, 32,750 tier 3 alpha fragments and 42,750 tier 6 basic fragments. Okay, and now if you go into game, which is going to go and flick into there, which you can see on screen right now, and we go right to the top, you can see now that it shows a whole smorgasbord of those lovely amounts of fragments and lovely delights. So I want to say this is now fixed. I mean, definitely looks fixed from where I'm kind of looking. So yeah, so 2 bugs, one still ongoing that potentially isn't fixed, and one that is indeed being fixed. So that's good news. And now we move on to a story of 3 days in the making, or 2 days in the making. I think it's 3 days in the making, and that is the missing calendar. You might be saying, Rich, but the calendar's fixed, and you would be right. If you go into game right now, which you're just going to do, you'll see that the calendar is indeed fixed. You know, for me, I can see my Paragon calendar. Oh, Paragon calendar, and that's great. But it was broken for a time. All the calendars were broken. I think that's the case, or most were broken, especially with most players who can log in on the 1st of October and finding that, hey, their calendar has not worked. It was a big thing on the 1st of October. There's is it Billy Joe Armstrong saying, wake me up when September ends, in his kind of normal kind of like voice. But yeah, it was not there. It was broken. What's the deal with that? Yes, Kabam said it's a bug, and it's surprising how many people got involved with the discussion. I mean, I was still on was I still on vacation? Or was I traveling back from vacation? No, I was violently vomiting. That's what it was. And people were spamming me, and I'm like, I can't help you. I'm blowing. I'm blowing. Yeah, blowing. The kind of update on the situation is that the team is working. This is Kabam, Exhibit 10. Kabam is working on a fix that should have the calendar showing for everyone by the daily reset today. It did, and it worked as of the 2nd, and is looking into options to make sure everyone gets the full rewards from the calendar. Now, how that will be facilitated is the next story. There's also a side story to this, in that people were, as someone said, that I was robbed a single day as well. And I don't know if this was like something as part of like as of yesterday, this has now been fixed, or this was kind of like I don't know, from not last month, this month. So this kind of area here was blanked out, So it was like missed. I mean, like, it's not for me at the moment, but I want to say that like Kabam had kind of like fixed this particular element. So this is like where it says missed, it's like, well, you will potentially get it. It sounds logical to assume that this is either something that's affecting people lower than Paragon, so this could be Thronebreaker, especially as you know, this player's Thronebreaker here, and they're missing out. I'm not currently at the moment, but that doesn't mean to say, like, it could be a case like whilst I'm recording this, or as we logged in this morning, it had been fixed. So there's a lot of kind of things that haven't really been answered, especially because someone as of yesterday put a ticket through to Kabam. It doesn't say a time, which is kind of like I'm not able to kind of properly find out. That's at 3:42 a.m. But that kind of like, it could be 3:42 a.m. for that person. It's not for me watching, because that's just kind of like, you know, nuts. But it could be a case like, you know, this was as of yesterday, where it says we were made aware of possible issues the October calendar missing on the first day and confirm this is a bug. An extra day will be added to the end of October calendar to make up for summoners who have been logged in before it's been resolved. So the compensation is a day. You've been compensated a day. Wow, I'd love to be compensated 7 days, especially for the 7 days I lost, especially because I've lost all those sunglasses as a result of having no internet. But that's a me problem. That's on me. I think it's not Kabam's fault. But I'd love to see that as compensation. Congratulations, 7. You know, if we were gonna like die at a certain point in your life, you're like, I get an extra 7 days. Kabam support. So yeah, thanks Kabam. Thanks for the extra days of living. But yeah, that's that resolved. You got it. It's kind of a funny thing of like compensation for me to put in a title. You've been compensated 1 day. Yeah, not any juicy rewards. Just a day. You've been compensated a day. Well done. Just to finish off a little bit of arena results, I didn't really plan to do any kind of arena results at all. I did have some submitted. Next week I'll be doing this back in full force, so submit then. But I'll be doing the more kind of infographic-y doodahs that I usually do in order to get results. But in any case, right, selector. It went a lot lower than normally expected, which is great. This means that 30 mil got position 92. Thanks to everybody that submitted results, by the way. And 11.8 mil got position 364 for the 5-star selector. So 31 mil was my prediction for round 2, and 11 mil for the 5-star one, respectively, for those different types of selectors. Tech Doom, unsure about the moment. The 6-star, we've got one result at the moment, which is great, which is 56 mil for position 489, and I go with 56 mil to get the 5-star. The 6-star seems to be going like exponentially high, so I would not doubt that would be over the 250 mark, but we need more info on that when it comes to results. But yeah, those are the results and predictions for round 2 of Tech Doom and Selector. And finally, thank you very much to everybody that supports the channel on this YouTube membery thing and Patreon. You're on screen right now. Thank you very much for giving the love and support. And also those that support on twitch.tv/RichTheMan live. I should be live streaming today, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Lots on though, and lots to catch up on. I am very behind in my grind after losing 7 days of progression, which I'll talk about in a video tomorrow. Yeah, look forward to be back streaming and lots of MCOC stuff to grind. Cheers everybody. Have a lovely day, and check out some other content which is located on screen right now, and we'll do the side quest totals, which I was meant to do yesterday, but I was still unwell. So yeah, it'll be out later on today. Cheers, bye bye.